Aelia, yeah. Aelia, yeah, that's very correct. It's a pleasure, Arthur. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you. Thank you so much. My journey has been quite unconventional with a lot of leaps and bounds, which is quite interesting, especially how it happened. But in a nutshell, just to understand a little bit who I am, I was born and raised in Greece. I studied architecture. And as soon as I could, so in my 20s, early 20s, I decided to start living abroad. So I have lived in 6 countries so far, and I just love being citizen of the world. I felt that it was just so enriching to meet different cultures. So I worked in architecture. I quite early climbed that ladder of architecture, ended up working for the Olympic Games in Brazil, ended up realizing that it was looking like a dream to everybody else except for myself. And something inside of me just started like there was literally a voice that told me this cannot be it. Like you're just 28 years old. You're miserable beyond comprehension. You're stressed beyond what you can ever imagine. Well, sure, you have an incredible salary. You're working in a big corporation. You have your car and your apartment paid. But like, is that it? That's it? Like, that's how it's gonna be? And I just couldn't take that. I was like, no, I'm missing something because it doesn't feel like it was shown to me as a dream that it looks from the outside. So I literally just dropped. I mean, after the contract finished, obviously, I dropped everything. I was like, don't search for me. I will just go and find myself. I will make myself happy somehow. So I start searching, and my spiritual journey started right there, which has been, I think, the biggest twist, the biggest pivot in my life so far, and it brought all the latest differentiation in my way, my journey. My journey was not supposed to be, it was not written to be like that, at least in the beginning of it. So I start entering the world of conscious entrepreneurship, as we call it. We don't really have a very good word for that, but practically people who want to do business, but they want to do business that support either other humans, the environment, or the evolution of humankind in general. And that's a new stream of business. Like it's relatively new. It's like 10, 15 years that it even exists as an identified stream of business. Let's not call it like that. So it has all the incredible aspects of being very fresh and very genuine, and all the a little bit more tricky aspects, let's call it like that, that it needs a lot of education for people to even understand, or like, what do you mean conscious business? Like, what's that? So I entered that quite early. That was like back 2018, 2019. And we start holding spiritual conferences. For example, one of the first big ones was in Davos during the World Economic Forum, which was very unique and very different and new for the world back then. Like now it's very common. You have meditations and shamans sprinkled everywhere. We partly kind of started that. Yes, and back then it was literally very unknown, this entire more mindful or more conscious business. But it was incredible to see the response of people in such a traditional business conference because they really didn't want to leave our space. They were like, that's the only space I feel like I'm a human again. So they would stay around. Of course, a lot of connections came out from there. Yeah, that was a physical space. Yeah, yeah. During the conference, parallel to the conference. And that made me start this entire journey into supporting this type of businesses and merging my spiritual understandings from my own journey. And what I saw that we might want to alter a little bit the way business is happening right now because it's not really going really well. Like it works, but how much we'd like to continue doing what we're doing, it's a huge question mark right now, and you can see it everywhere. So that I have been on that since the last 8, 9 years in different versions, of course. But you can always say that I really loved allowing people to understand that there is more beautiful places in this life, either internal places or external places. So very beautiful properties or very beautiful internal states that you can get to and just allow them to tap into that. I believe there are two major aspects or factors that play into that. It's definitely trend, as you say. One was COVID, because many people just sat for enough time looking at the ceiling that they will start thinking about their life before they were just running around. So they would avoid thinking at all costs. But the second is also we have an increasing amount of people who are becoming wealthy or ultra wealthy. And the question changes after a certain level of wealth because you actually stop needing to chase anything. So you start like wondering, what is this thing all about? Something internal changes. So I think these two factors together, because there's a very big number of people who they were not born in money, but they're entering bigger money, and that becomes in a bigger scale. So these two together, I think they're creating this trend that we see as people wondering, like, what is my person? Why am I here? What am I doing? How can I contribute more positively to the world? I think it's a global phenomenon and it's very understandable because, first of all, I don't believe there is one tool that is better than the other. For me, all of those are tools, just very different tools that will work for different people for different reasons. So I am actually quite agnostic in which tool you use. Some people will use sports as their awakening, and that will be their tool. Some others will use deep shamanic healing, for example, and that will be their tool. It doesn't really matter as long as it gets you what it's supposed to get you. Different people need different things. The only thing is like some of them are a stronger tool, so they will literally break through, as we call it, to your current awareness. And this sometimes it's difficult to happen through simpler practices because it's just very concrete. It's almost like a very thick layer. There is usually where plant medicine can help, but then again, there's only a certain amount of times that you need to do that. After that, it becomes more of an entertainment again, because we're just so good as human species to make everything into an entertainment instead of a healing modality. So I we like I'm not against any of the tools. I actually believe all of them are amazing. And yet you have to really search, are you doing it because it's making you progress or it has just become another distraction? That's from the outside, yeah. You can continue. Of course. I mean, as long as it is you're doing it intentionally, everything can be. And everything can be, even if it's so you can go into a ceremony and your mind is just not there and you're not present. It's going to be exactly the same thing as going to the church and your mind is not there and it's not present. It's going to be the same thing with being with your partner and you're not there and your mind is not present. It will give exactly the same result. Nothing will change. You're just caught up to another reality. So look, let's not forget that when religions were established, humanity was in a different stage. That's 2000 years ago. We were not the same human beings 2000 years. We forget that. It's an organization that is becoming obsolete because it needs to either upgrade or update or dissolve, right? It's just old. It's just based on older needs of humanity. Though there are some needs that remain, like being part of a tribe, that remains. Being part of a religion is mostly social right now. It's not so much for believing in God anymore. This has been removed the most for the most believers, at least, of religion. That's why people are moving to spirituality. It's not so much of a difference. It's just you really want to connect with something higher. You just don't find it anymore in the vessel of formalized religion. So you search it somewhere else. But the need remains the same. The container changes. Well, that definitely worked when it started getting established, right? I think we're moving into a time that we are supposed to find our own individuality and center and our own unique connection without teachers, gurus, spiritual leaders, you name it. I personally believe that even politics are obsolete. It's actually, again, a very old system that doesn't really apply to what we need right now, to our needs. It's just there, hanging, power structures, right, that we are just used to them. Religion is another one. For me, there's no real difference between the two, but it will take some time, like it does take some time for a large enough amount of human beings trust that they don't need anybody to translate their connection to their own life except from themselves, some time, space, and some alignment, and it's valid enough to believe in it and trust it and act according to that. um I That's an interesting question because there have been waves. Like I observed, there have been waves of people. That there's particular times that many people seem to be awakening at the same time, and then it kind of went down, and there was another wave yet again of another big set of people. And you can even see a little bit of where they are in the journey and how they act, they speak, they approach spirituality according to the wave they were awakening. Exactly. We were laughing today with your friend and collaborator that like early stage spirituality is like crystals and shamanic healing and then late stage spirituality is like coffee and cigarettes. We were just laughing because you go back into everything is a ritual. There's nothing in material life that's actually bad or evil or toxic unless you make it be. Yeah, for sure. And sometimes you do want to be part of a tribe for some time, but it's good to have like to understand that it's covering a need and to not just believe that this is the absolute truth and it will save your soul and change your right like perspective. Oh, please. That's a conversation, no problem at all. Yeah, because it's marketing. Actually, that's exactly what marketing does. Absolutely. Yeah. It is because even if it has worked for one person, doesn't mean it will work for every person exactly the same way. Of course, there are principles that in a big, it will work for the majority of people as pathway, right? But when somebody tells you that they have the exact, if you just follow the exact thing, it will work. It literally is marketing. That's exactly how all marketing works. And most of that is like, it worked for you. How do you know it's going to work for me? And many times it actually doesn't. I mean, he might, but it's not by definition because he's a pope, he does. Actually, to tell you the truth, for me, business is one of the most potent awakening tools we have in our hands in modern society, to tell you the truth, because business will show you your shadows, your hidden, the hidden parts, what you're good at, what you're not so good at. And if you're willing, you can work on them because it will really bring it to your face. Like there's no hiding. It will really bring it in front of you. So I love using business as my tool for self-development, let's call it like that, and I support my clients to do the same because you can really see what's happening there. And there are tools to work with it after. Yeah. And I have seen again and again that your business can be less great than you are for external circumstances, but it cannot become better than you are. So the founder needs to grow their capacity into who they are, and the business then follows that journey afterwards. So it is very intrinsic and it is very related. And to tell you the truth, like I don't even know why we have disconnected these two. What I have observed from great leaders I have been either working with or for before, even though sometimes they don't identify as spiritual, the way they act, they're clearly connected to something that inform them before informs others for the steps they're supposed to take. I mean, in the end, what is spirituality if not that? It's not what you perform, it's this deeper connection. The intuition plays a huge role. I mean, we all have it. You just need to listen to it so it talks a little bit louder to you. It's almost like the more you listen to it, the more. It's almost like a small child. If you shut down a small child a couple of times, they will stop telling you their secrets because they're like, well, you're not going to listen anyway, so why should I? But if you start listening, they still tell you more and more and more. And at some point, there's no question mark. It's like, that's our reality. It's the same. I have seen it's the same with intuition. Like, we always kind of know. If we listen, we know. Each one of us. We just rationalize it, believe it's not going to be like that, are afraid of it because it's very far away from what looks logical. We alter it, but deep inside, we know. And then when it comes out like that in the future, we're like, okay, I knew that. Sure, you did. Yeah. Why didn't you follow though? Time and silence, like literally. How would you listen to anybody? Time, you will give them time to speak and you will stay silent. It's the same thing. And literally get some time alone with yourself to listen to what's happening inside. Like, how else will it happen? We are running around all the time. We're always with somebody, looking at something, consuming content. There's always input. It like it needs a little bit of time without external input of other people's opinions, so you can hear your own. Absolutely. Absolutely. Nature can accelerate that a lot, and that's why I use it. Like, I believe that nature is practically our co-facilitator in the retreats that we do. It's an interesting it's an interesting story. It started as an experiment, and it started in the counterpart of what I was seeing not working in the conferences world, especially when I start having more knowledge about how the human body works in an optimal way. And what we do in conferences is literally against everything that we know about the human body. So you're sitting down 8 to 10 hours listening to a lot of different information, one after the other, in a purely poorly acclimatized room, usually with a lot of people around you. Then you just go out, have finger food, drinks, sleep very little. You're supposed to do the same the next day again. It's like like if you, it's the worst thing. It's the worst thing you can think about. It doesn't make sense at all. So I was wondering, is like, is that the only way, or is just the way we're used to? Is there another way to create the business results we want without this maltreatment of the human of the human being involved in business? So I decided to make an experiment, literally. I decided to bring entrepreneurs and investors in the place I love the most, which is up on the Alps, which has one of the cleanest energies that I know, very crystalline energy. Not tell them who's going to be there, so they didn't have any information. They just needed to travel quite far actually to get there. It was an entire adventure to get there. We wouldn't talk business at all. We would just connect and see what happens organically in the constellation, and it just worked like magic. Like, I was like, what, something is happening here, because that's beyond what I thought would be created. First of all, people were just finding it somehow. Didn't even know how they were finding it. Second, collaboration started without me needing to handhold them, and businesses, and they hired each other, they flew like an entire thing after, without needing anything of follow up. It just happened. So I was like, okay, we have what I was believing it might work. It actually does work. And it is based on some principles that we have distorted a lot in the modern world. One of those is trust. Like, we are trying to skip or shortcut trust. That doesn't work in business. It's one of the most fundamental aspects. The problem is that usually the test of the trust comes in the very end when the deal is supposed to be done. And that's, you have already lost so much time, so many Zoom calls, so many arrangement, lawyers, like the entire thing. It's better to build the trust first, because it's not going to be built after. So that's what we do in the experiences. We build the trust first. And the trust can be engineered, interestingly enough. Like, if you really break down what trust is, it's like you need to see the person in as many different situations as possible and see how they behave practically. So that's what happens because it's fully immersed in their experience, and the people are literally as if how they will be behaving in real life. And I am very meticulous of them, not allowing them to perform, not allowing them to hide behind their usual masks. So really come with authenticity. It's very easy to see if somebody fits you because you have seen a lot of faces of them when they're strong, when they're vulnerable, when they are offering to others, when they are receiving something, when they're in a business environment, when they're in a personal environment. Of course, you cannot know everything with a person. Of course, it's like a 4 days event, but you can know way more of what you will normally know from such a time. And also, I just trust a lot in life, and it will show you with which people you're supposed to connect. It just becomes crystal clear when you don't do it from a mental perspective. You just see where there is a real connection, when it's a fabricated one because this person is XYZ and has done XYZ, right? If you remove that, you can see when there is real trust and connection. It is. It's also a very pleasant experience in very beautiful places around interesting people, right? Like, because this is a big aspect as well. Second, many people do feel the connection with me as well. So, like, we know that we are supposed to walk the path together. And there's a lot of people who that's one of the reasons they're coming. Some of them are coming for more specific opportunities as well, because one of the reasons that I have started creating the experience, that's the personal reason, is because when I see all of the colors of somebody, it's very easy for me to know who to connect them with from my network and who they fit with. So I do that after the experience. Like I always say, like it's not about the experience is just the Kickstarter. It's what happens after that is important for us. So then I take over the introductions and things happen. So many people find us when they want to search a more purposeful path, either in investments or collaborations or properties. So like when they're searching for something more of their in their legacy or purpose driven endeavors, usually they tend to find us right there. So there's two big stages, and now we are forming it actually more like a menu, so people can really decide what they need more than having a one package. The two biggest options is participate in one of the experiences, which is usually what I recommend first, because then it just becomes clear if we are for you and you are for us. It just becomes crystal clear. There's no doubt whatsoever. And then they can opt to come into the club, so become a member, which is practically they get the support that they get in this one time throughout the entire year. So it's a very personalized approach. We try to remove all overwhelm, and it's just like just knowing the person and supporting them in what they need. Sometimes they will need more business related introductions, for example. Sometimes they will need more personal and spiritual support because we're humans and things change, right? Calibrate over time. So we like to be across the entire range, depends on what the person really needs. And right now we are building a next step that will be able to do the introductions in way bigger scale, but I cannot disclose much of that right now. But the next one is one I'm very excited about because like I think I need to give a little bit of context. So, in all of our experience, I try to really read the latest energetics in the collective and create something that will allow us to unlock that. Because I mean, we're working more with people within the very forefront of innovation, of social innovation, of spiritual innovation. So they're always coming into the first barriers of how we're progressing as humanity. So I really love to support that layer. So I always sense like what is now has become an inhibition that we can work on and then unlock it. Of course, way more people needs to do it on the planet than just our bubble, right? Obviously, but that's our part of the contribution, of course. So the next one, I'm very excited because we're going in a very unconventional way that I have never seen and in the retreat space, and this is real action with the land. So we're going to go back into working with the four elements, and the first element is the earth, and we will literally bring people back into connection with being in service with the earth and working with the divine masculine in particular, being in service with the earth. And I have heard that so much that people are really longing to get out of the computer and just have their hands in the soil. And I wasn't understanding exactly why this need was coming up until very recently. And I realized that we have lost the sequence of the chain between creating an action, being in service to somebody, producing out of that, and having this production serve us back and closing the entire cycle. This cycle has been broken. So we never get the completion. We also don't understand where the resources are coming from. It's like it's fragmented in our mentality. Exactly. You also don't understand the effort that it takes, so you become less grateful. So we are trading comfort for gratitude right now in the modern society. So we're gonna bring people to really do the traditional olive harvesting in Greece in the time of the olive oil harvesting, of course, and they will get their own olive oil that I believe that most of them have never done in their life and probably they will never do again, which I believe will be a very interesting internal experience of what does it actually mean to be in service. So the others will be in different locations because we're gonna go in different four different locations around the world this year, and one will be in California, which will be about the air, and that will be very much about the big question: is science and spirituality two different things? So we're actually gonna be collaborating with a scientist who's gonna be bringing the subject to the forefront, and he's also working with spiritual healing and right, psychedelic research, and he's a medical doctor, so he has an interesting combination of aspects he has been working on himself. Then the fire element will be in Brazil, and the water element would be in Indonesia. So we don't know yet if Brazil will be summer, Indonesia will be autumn, or vice versa, but it will be something of that. We are finalizing the details. But Brazil will be very much about aliveness. For me, Brazil is one of the few countries in the world that they haven't forgotten how to be truly alive and enjoy life. And we are forgetting it like very fast in Europe and the US. It has started becoming like, a little bit like, well, yeah, it's nice, but it doesn't really feel. It's definitely more potent than in other places in Europe, but I think nobody can beat the Cariocas on that. They're just masters in that aspect. Yeah, they don't even need anything to be happy. They just can just arrange a little table in the backyard and have the best time of their life, just laughing and talking and connecting and without anything. And that was a huge like realization when I was living in Brazil. It's like how is that even possible? Like you can feel it. It's palpable. It doesn't need the external to happen. The external can be, but it's not needed whatsoever, which is really really interesting. Yeah. Oh, interesting. Very true. Have you seen the children? How happy they are. Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly how it is. And that's why I love in our experience are different because it's mostly about bringing people back to the essence. They're not so performative. It's really about presence, authenticity, and be where you are. And when you do that for 24 hours, I mean, our experience got longer, you start actually having DMT releases, natural, without anything. Yeah, we have forgotten that. We believe we need something external to get into the state. We don't. Oh, of course. I can feel it. I can feel it in your field. Interestingly enough, you can feel when somebody has touched something greater. There's less inherent fear in their field. Things might be happening. They might be stressed. They might be running. External things might be happening, right? Because life. But somehow inside, in the core, there's not so much fear. Of course. Yeah, because they don't come from the right. Yeah, they don't come from the right intention, the right starting point. That changes a lot. That changes the game. Yeah. Because there's way less things that you will get into that you don't want to if you don't have this fear. That's something guaranteed. Yeah. I think you can experience it without knowing. Like we have forgotten this lost art and we are trying to know everything, but knowing is, I mean, even if we know, it's just too little for the human experience. We are not satisfied. It's not a satisfied experience to know with your brain only. It's not enough for the human being. Um, yes and no. I mean, of course, the way that the experience are designed to even go through our filters, usually you're already in the right place because there is very particular type of person that actually can hold themselves correct in the unknown, and that's one of the biggest factors. And there are people who are self-led, With self-led people, allowing them to be authentic and being there to create the container, not too many things can go wrong because actually anybody can pivot the experience towards a different direction if they feel that something is going wrong. And we give them this authority. Mm. Yeah. Mm. Yeah. Yeah, it makes a big difference. And one of the most interesting findings that I also realized after creating the experiences is that when you enter a group that is not scheduled, so it's not like, okay, we do that, it's at 7 o'clock, that at 8, and it's literally like an invitation to co-create the entire day together with others. First of all, you start paying attention more. So you start really putting your best of the efforts, and that creates usually a very positive outcome. So nobody's like, well, yeah, let's just follow along and ta 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 ta. It's like, oh, I'm involved in this. There's already positive behavior. Second, it will show you how much you are ready for the world the way you want to lead, because the way you do anything is the way you do everything. So if you're trying to hide behind different people, it will show in the group. If you are taking the right lead, it will show in the group, and all of that you can work on if you want to, of course. So it's all a lot about self-awareness. Um, but also, you're really invited to take it, like to contribute, to bring your qualities into the group. And what I found out, which was very surprising, is that this is the best business card. Because when you do that from the real deep excitement for sharing, not because I have to, because we have scheduled, or because I'm supposed to, or whatever. It's like the group is asking it. That's my part now. It's my part to take the stage. It's my part to lead, and it comes as a collective wanting. It doesn't come as an egoistic wanting. You share it from such a deep place of actually pure spiritual sacred fire energy that people remember you because it's the most authentic you. Sure. Exactly. It's a mastermind approach, let's call it like that, even though we use more than the mind, but it's more of I realized that quite early, like I was having a difficulty to what we were discussing in the beginning. Like I have used some tools that worked greatly for me. I could never really assume that these are the tools that you are supposed to work on. It really felt off since the very beginning of my journey. So I was like, what am I supposed to teach them? Like, if they ask, what was your journey? I'm happy to share, of course. But teaching them what I learned, it always felt off. And then I start realizing, like looking at my clients, I start realizing that, well, I might have taken more time in the beginning of my life to explore cultures and to really be outside and living life very actively. But they have dedicated a lot of time to master other parts of life. So am I better? Or each one of us have just unlocked a completely different. So why don't we just share what you have unlocked and have the wisdom be among and remove also this layer of there's the master and the student. Like who's the master? Who's like you might be a master here and a student there in different aspects of your life. So we work with that energetic. Exactly. And I personally, I have a lot of things that I see in the way our industry works that I'm like, are we really going in this direction? And one of those is the just eternal healing and self-development. Like, you're never healed enough to do anything in the world. And I'm like, it actually doesn't exactly work like that. You heal one part, you go and test it out of the world with action. Then you get the feedback, you see where you still have things to work on, and then you test that, and then you come back, and there's this dance. And the entire retreats industry has started becoming as of, well, you haven't healed enough, come to the next, because then you're going to be healed. And you're not, poor you, you're not good enough yet, you need a little bit more. And exactly. The thing is, like, I don't know why. I don't think we need that anymore. We just, like, the world hasn't caught up with that. Like, our business model doesn't need to be based on fear anymore. People are very excited to pay for things that they love as well. They don't need to be afraid of something. So why don't we move into the motivation instead of the manipulation aspect of of our economy? Our economy will not go to break. People will buy things, but because they love them, not because they feel not good enough. That's a different energy. It's a very thin line, right? Like, I do believe that some of the people are supposed to be healers in this life, and they also need to have a living. So it's a very thin line there. But it, the way it happens is usually when a wave starts, it's more pure, and then it starts getting corrupted, and then we create the next version. So that's what I believe is happening right now, actually. Yeah, it happens always. NFTs, I think it's a great example. Exactly. I was observing that with NFTs. I was like, how did we took such a genuine care about supporting creators, and we put make it such a cheap marketing so fast. It was so fast the way we cheapened it. I was like, whoa, okay, we're really good in that. Yeah. But a new version will come that will again be more pure in the beginning, and then down the line, and again, again, and again. Yeah. Most of the time, it's better to just talk to me first. So I try to do all the exploration calls for the ones who want to join either the club or the experiences, and also help them with their intention, because intention is very powerful before they enter. So they can just text me on LinkedIn. We're always responding, either me or somebody of my team, and they pass on if there's something I need to attend to. It's the same name, Aelia Kos. You'll find me. Or in my website, aeliakos.com, that you can just connect with me and send me an email, your interest, and we will take it from there. We try to keep processes quite simple and have a direct contact to see if it's a good fit. And from there on, we can share more of the options that we have according to what the person is all about. So this for the entire 2026, we will have like four experiences. Autumn is now, the ones coming up in Greece, then it will be California, Brazil, and Indonesia. And all of them will be very unique. And the spaces are, I'm just very excited for the spaces that are going to be hosting us because they're very different quality of the traditional retreat centers to just have a completely different depth of energetics because they've been there for many years with their owners really fostering the land for 30, 50 plus years. It's just a different gravity. To tell you the truth, I don't plan. I plan when I get the signal of what is the new vibration that we are supposed to offer. There will be next experiences, but I will only know when I know, and then I announce them. So I don't just copy paste. I just see what is the new vibration. But our goal is really to keep repeating the places that we feel that are the right fit, and also to enable some of those to get into the hands of a new owner, because some of them are in the stage that they need to transition. Their owners are getting older, so we would love, and we highlight that already in our experiences, to have people who are more conscious picking them up because that's how they have been happening on exactly to stay that way, to stay pure, to stay how they are. And we will also be able to support the new owners into the management and the business model further on. So take a little bit of the heavy weight of picking up a very large estate in a foreign country, which can very much have some very down to earth real world difficulties when you're considering such a purchase. Absolutely. You need a team, you need things to manage, like you need those. So we're happy to support on that. So that's our bigger plan. So it's like literally having these locations around the world, but not so much of us buying them and copy pasting the same branding, but more of creating literally a network of owners who are looking at the same future together and support them in the way we can. Yeah, absolutely. That's beautiful. Yeah, Greece still holds a little bit of this quality, like it's not lost this quality of the depth of the ancient times. Exactly. Yeah. It's I love this place. It's like you have your entire microcosmos around, and if you want, you can eat only local. Like, and we do that actually in all of our experiences because it's possible. And in Greece, it's relatively easy actually to do that still, which is surprising. Sicily is majestic. Yeah. I was also surprised. Like I was in awe actually of Sicily. I have to admit. Like I was really surprised. I didn't know what to expect. It was an incredible experience. Thank you. It has been a pleasure actually to exchange. Hopefully, anytime. And let me know also if you're coming in this direction. It will be a pleasure to get to meet you in person. No, we still have places. We're actually considering moving it into mid-November because some of the guests are having complications. So I can send you if you're interested in possibly joining us. We still have some spaces. I hope you can make it. I know this, and sometimes these things you can push them or not. Sometimes they just take the time they're supposed to take. Interesting. Yeah. Yes, it's exactly like that. I would love to you to see the one in Greece as well. It's a very particular space. It's been a pleasure. Thank you, Arthur. Bye.